Yes. My favorite cities.
Really?
And you have much more following than you think, Jeff, because this is always a highlight when we finally can listen to the recordings.
Good to hear.
Yes.
It's very good to hear.
Jeff Hans is one of the very engaged people who are in our community. We have not many, but he is really, and another one, Henrik from Sweden. And we have really deep integral explorations, you know. We try to, by talking together, to get the things a little bit more clearer in our head. And it's really, really great. I'm very grateful for that. Because one of the reasons why we did these podcasts is because when I met Mark, and we could finally talk about these things. Before I was sort of alone, sometimes in a conference. And so we had every day, we had the opportunity to talk. And then, that's it. It was a constructive talk, you know, discussion. And that's why we began to offer these things. Yeah. And when he is here and Henrik and some other people, then we really go deeply into integral. When there are people who are not so much into integral, we have to sort of trying to get them to to bring them in.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's a great thing, indeed.
So Hans, you have the possibility to ask the questions to talk with Jeff.
Oh, I'm always bad with with starting things off. I don't know. No, I just really love the talk, and I'm familiar with you, Jeff, and you're normally without image, but I listen to the Daily Evolvers, and I love them. And
great.
I've just
how'd you get into this integral? How'd you get into this whole integral thing?
Like Kelly, I started reading Ken Wilber books when I was 18 years old, and that's now almost 20 years ago. So I started with Grace and Grit in my late teens, and I got hooked and just devoured everything else that he released. And I was lucky then I had a good friend in my hometown in the German province, and he was also into Ken Wilber books, and so I had a friend that I could talk to about all this.
Yeah.
But now for many years, we don't live in the same city, and I've been really, just like Heidi said, it's mostly going on in my own head. And 2 years ago, I took part in Ken Wilber's superhuman operating system in that online course. And that has really brought it to a whole new level. I think I was pretty firm enough on the theory before, but just engaging and exchanging and talking to people and really lit me up. And I'm looking forward to the conference as well. I got my train ticket to Hungary, and I'm going to go to the European conference.
Excellent.
Will you be there too again, Jeff?
No, I'm not coming this time.
Oh.
I know. I have a lot of travels, and I was getting all anxious, and I decided I'm not your great traveler anyway. I got to tell you the truth, you know. But I sure did love the last one. Are you guys going to do the bus tour at the end and that?
We hope.
I'm going to do it. Yeah.
Are you? Yeah, that was fun.
It was wonderful.
It really was
wonderful.
It really was. Yeah. Are they doing okay? Are they getting a good turnout this year?
What?
Are they doing good with the turnout and so forth? The sign-ups?
Well, we don't know what the turnout is, actually.
I don't know.
What does it mean then?
How many people are showing up?
I have no idea. We haven't registered yet because it's a little bit expensive.
Yeah, it is.
Because we are sort of constricted to stay in the hotel. Last time we had homestay, and that was much more reasonable. So we are not yet 100%. Also, I really would love to. So.
Yeah.
Yes, I would love to see you there.
Well, maybe next time.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about the talk. I found it very, 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 very interesting. you know, to hear also the difference between the sameness at the same time between you and and Kelly, you know, in your experience. And at this point, I would like to ask Hans, how is your experience? You have they have told us how it was for them, and how was it for you?
I think I had a comparably easy time. I think I was lucky in many ways. I did not grow up in a religious family. My family was not very open-minded either, but I had a very good group of friends around me always, it seems. I don't know, I've always been lucky to meet good, tolerant people. So I think it took me, I really understood that I was gay when I was about 19 years old, or 19, 20. So that was actually rather late, considering that I was moving in a very tolerant circle of friends. All of them straight, but good people. And but I had issues. I think I had issues with men. I never really liked men. I had really bad experiences with several stepfathers, all that. So I think it took me longer to realize that I could really, you know, be into men, like love men. I just was kind of disgusted by men always in my life before. So it took me a bit longer. Yeah, then I fell in love with a working colleague, and it was like a revelation, really, because up until that moment, I always fell in love with girls, but I was not really interested in them sexually so much. But I always thought that's just because I'm insecure and, you know, and all that. So when I fell in love with this working colleague of mine, it was a revelation. It just, from one day to the other, really, I couldn't.
And that
there was no way.
19?
That was when I was like 19. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And,
so did that go well?
Yes, actually, it was a bit. It went really smooth from there. It was like a shocking one night kind of like turmoil. And then I just like called all my friends and said like, hey, I fell in love, and this is, you know, this wonderful person. And of course my friends told me, many of them, well, we always knew.
Right. Yeah.
You know? But I think as I was already, I mean, I moved out of my parents' house when I was 17. So when I was 19, I had my own apartment. I had my own job. School was behind me. So in many ways, it was easy. You know, I was not anymore moving in those like tight frameworks of where I had to like explain myself to people. So in that sense, I had it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was lucky.
So are you in a relationship now, or do you
No.
Have you had?
I haven't really. I mean, this is maybe was a bit the topic of our last conversations in this series. So Margherita is already a bit more familiar with it. No, I have been, of my 37 years, I think 35 and a half I've spent as a single. So it's still a mystery to me. At the moment, I am like, I'm just I really like being single. It's kind of weird. I mean, I just really like spending time in my own company. But I think in the past there was a lot of fear involved too, and abandonment issues and all that. So I don't know, I'm just curious. At the moment, I think I like being by myself, but I'm open as well to meet somebody and just be surprised, you know, by encounters.
Yeah.
So
how is it happening in Germany? I mean, as a culture, being gay is pretty accepted, I'm assuming, right? And is it changing? Is it marriage legal?
No, it's surprisingly, you guys, now everybody here was really surprised that the US overtook us on that front.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that you suddenly, it was surprising. I mean, and then even the entire US, wasn't it? I mean, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah, even down in Alabama.
Yeah, it's surprising. I mean, I have never been to the US, but from friends that I have and people that I've talked to, my impression still is that it's actually easier to be gay in Germany. I would say that the acceptance in the culture is actually higher than in the US, but the laws have not fully caught up. There's legal partnership and all sorts of things, but this last thing of to call it a marriage and make it totally equal with marriage, they're still avoiding that, but it's a matter of time.
Yeah,
it's you know, I'm pretty optimistic about it.
Yeah,
and I mean, I live in Berlin, so of course Berlin also is has always been a bit of an island in Germany, and here it's a very progressive mood overall, and of course it's different if you're from the countryside or smaller places, or just happen to be born in a very traditional family set or something.
Yeah.
And
well, it's one of the things
actually,
I think we see with evolution in general is that when you say it's a matter of time, of course it is. It's a matter of time, probably for the whole planet. You know, it's a longer time in, you know, the Middle East and so forth. But, you know, just the trajectory of what human beings do is that we find new parts of ourselves. We get curious about new parts of other people. We have more options. And that just seems to be what's built in to the evolutionary pattern. And, you know, so you can sort of, somehow it doesn't feel like we have to work so hard when we realize that Eros is on our side.
Yes, I think that exactly, and I think that is what Integral brought to me, about that I feel the more I dive into it, the more friendly the universe appears to be. I mean, there's all this ugly stuff happening, of course, but it's just like evolution really seems to be on our side. Like, I don't know.
I mean, I think we can trust it. I think we can have faith in it. It's almost, we go back to some of the traditional values of, you know, trust and faith in, you know, it's not God in the mythic way anymore, but in the system, in the pattern. And that's a great thing.
Yes,
but
I agree.
would like to add is that it's not only about same-sex relationships. It's about all, let's say, appearances which so far were sort of suppressed, or ways of living who were not accepted. And I mean, also, I was hetero, you know, but I fell in love with the person I was 16, and it was quite suppressed by my parents, and I had to marry to even it out, because it was no way that I went to Berlin to study and stayed with this person without marriage. I mean, you know, and when we go on, these things are easier. We talked about the generational thing, but it's not only the generational thing, it's also the how we ourselves see that. You know, I was completely convinced I have to fall in love and to marry to be able to have sex. And I felt myself really, like Kelly said, she found it so exciting. I found it really exciting that I sort of cheated on my parents and went to see a letter friend in England, but in fact I met my future husband. You know, all these things when you do it.
Well, 19 is a great time to do that stuff.
No, 19 I'm married.
Yeah, it's required.
I was.
Yeah.
So it's becoming easier, and evolution helps us. Unless, Jeff, this is a question to you. Now we have all these problems here in Europe, and maybe the economy crashes and whatever, and we go into different situations. What is your idea? Will it go? I mean, the aerodynamics people say that the life conditions make your mindset. So when we have to struggle again, will this be? Do we need again, for instance, an enemy who is whose fault it is, and then there are the the gay people or whoever. And we have now the Syrians, not the refugees. By the way, Hans is working with refugees in Germany.
Wow,
and,
really?
You know.
Wow.
Yes, I'm actually working with gay refugees. That's the thing. I mean, we are very proud here, and within 10 days time, we will open a big asylum camp only for LGBT people.
Wow.
So this also shows like how the green wave has really kicked in Germany. I mean, it's like you guys said before, evolution is going so fast on these things. You know, I sometimes can't understand that people are getting impatient, because even in just one lifetime now, I mean, if you just look at your own lifetimes, how things have changed, it's just incredible.
Yes.
And now the German government is paying for a safe place so that not only the refugees are safe, but that the LGBT refugees are being kept safe, you know, from the other refugees who often are very traditional and come from religious Muslim backgrounds, and that there were a lot of attacks and people, you know, the gay refugees were attacked and discriminated against in the camps. So so we fought hard to build this shelter, and finally we're going to open it. And it's just, you know, one more signpost of
astonishing. So how are these people doing? I mean, having come through, you know, the ordeal, but also to be gay, I mean, they must feel like they've gone to heaven. I mean, to be able to be out and safe and free, my goodness.
It's interesting. I mean, we have those refugees that are fleeing war, and then sometimes they just happen to be gay on top of, you know, other reasons that made them flee their countries, like from Syria, for example. And then we have the refugees that come from places like Iran or Russia, even now more and more, that are like being gay is their reason to ask for asylum in Germany. So that makes a bit of a difference. But all sorts of reactions, because I mean, it's all sorts of people. It's not like an homogeneous group. Some of them are very traditional in their mental mindsets themselves. Others are modern and say, hey, I'm from Iraq, but I am an atheist. So all of this is not new to me. I used the internet before, and I've seen movies and read the papers. So, you know, they come in all conditions. And some of them are overwhelmed too. You know, some feel liberated and say, finally, I don't have to hide and I'm safe and all that. But then they see all these people running down the street, holding hands, kissing, and in the gay scene, a lot of, you know, pornography and sexuality is all around you, and some find it too much too. Yeah. It's just like overwhelming, and they like don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, that's.
Well, you have your work cut out. I was thinking, my goodness, getting all these different groups together under one roof. You know, with the label you give them, but that doesn't say anything about their level of development. You know,
of course,
you know, there are new folks in there, you know, too. You know, and that could make a really, really feisty group to manage.
Yes, we will have a new dimension of conflict once we open the shelter. Now, at the moment, we are still on a place just to protect people, you know, just to have a safe place. But I'm sure once there's all these LGBTs like in the same house, we will have 120 people. I'm sure there will be all sorts of drama and conflict, and
you can count on it. Human beings.
Yeah, of course.
Going to be
never boring.
Yeah.
Make a film.
Well, there's a documentary waiting there for sure. My goodness.
Yeah. In one of our first meetings with Hans, he said that his understanding of integral theory has helped him so much to work in these places, you know, with the people.
No, it would have to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, totally. I mean, this is what I love about Integral, and this is what I love so much about your podcast as well, Jeff. I mean, it's so. Of course, we can read these like big fat books, like what is it called in English? Eros, Cosmos, Logos, or something, or
the section.
I don't know. Sex, ecology, and spirit. I don't know.
Spirituality, yes, please.
Oh, okay. So it can sound awfully academic and just like, oh my God, like, what am I getting into here? But the deeper you dive into it, it becomes so like hands-on. And I mean, just in everyday situations, I mean, like I said, social work is so, invites so much to have like an all quadrant look on it. I mean, I said it before, like in a modern or progressive way of social work, it's basically looking at humans as bio-psycho-social beings, and that already, you know, is quadrants. And just meeting these people, I mean, having a basic understanding of types of people and of levels of development and all that. I mean, it's just so helpful.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's one of the things that's sort of a marker of integral consciousness is, to use Claire Graves' wonderful line, that at Integral you become the universal donor. That is, you can actually be with people at all types, of all stages, and not try to colonize them. You know, not try to explain how things ought to be to them, and to be curious about who they are, and know that there's Eros is working with them too. But you're not going to get somebody at red. You're not going to get them up to orange and green anytime soon. You know, the appropriate thing is to take them to amber or whatever. You know, everybody. You could be friends with everybody. You know, it's as simple as that. It just brings on this radical friendliness that is so much better, you know, than being unfriendly.
Absolutely, yeah.
I would invite you to email me on Daily Evolve, jeff@dailyevolver.com, and so I can have a contact. I'd love to talk to you about, you know, even to play an excerpt for the show or something to get the German perspective on, especially that you're so close to this refugee thing, that I would love to share that with my listeners if you're interested.
Yeah, sounds great. I can. There was a great article written by an English-speaking magazine, which can give you like a rough idea of what you're doing in English language. I could send that to you, and then we can
would you please
take it from there. Yeah,
that'd be great.
Wonderful. So one of our missions are completed, that we want to connect people.
Our mission.
No, totally. It's wonderful. I mean, if I think of when I was reading Ken Wilber books back in the 80s, there was no way. There was no internet. There was no email. There was no nothing. And now that we, you know, we can have a real conversation and create a real we space. It's funny, you know, that you're in Berlin and you're in Italy and you're in Canada and I'm in Colorado, and yet we have a we space, and that's one of the. I mean, it's hard to overestimate the power of that in evolution.
Yes,
you know,
it's
that
amazing.
All the needles in the haystack can find each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great time.
And we are
great time.
We are using this. Yeah. We are using these new platforms, and we have no idea what will come out.
Right.
The we-space creation. And this is what I say to you, Jeff. It's so much nicer when we see you. Listening is nice too, but seeing you.
But then I have to comb my hair. I have to shave. I have to get out of my pajamas.
Listen.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm on the piano. I have a pajamas underneath. I just put this, you know, scarf over top, and then I just cut my hair back, and then I'm myself. Because when you really show up how you are at any time, this is the best way of being. So if you were thinking that you're going to, you know, impress somebody or just anyway, So I think that's the best way of presenting oneself. Now, one have to have lights and colors and backgrounds that can help it, that you set up. And Christina says, so good, Margherita. Thank you. I have a fan in the audience.
Great.
Yeah, it's really, we get authentic. We go a little bit away from the orange perfectionism, that we become ourselves. And you can have the hair like this. And who doesn't like it? Okay, they're not our audience.
Right.
You know?
Oh, I take a picture of your hair, Heidi.
Okay. I saw a dog there at Jeff's. Did I?
Yes, you did. I have 4 of them at the moment. I have 2 of my own, and I'm dog sitting.
Wow.
This is how you look like when you are authentic, Heidi and Mark. Isn't that cool? You see, I catch the best image ever.
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to do one for you too. Okay.
Oh, he's a good boy.
Oh, wow.
He's an old pug.
Look at that.
13 years old. Oh, that's sweet. I love that.
Cool.
Prince, that's you. That's you.
Our dog is in the box sleeping.
My cat
Well, gang, I need to sign off and go to my lunch. So
yeah.
It's been really fun seeing you. Good meeting you, Margherita. Good meeting you, Hans. More to come. And of course, Heidi and Mark, always a pleasure.
Yes. Thank you so much.
It's so
Thank
All
you,
right.
Jeff.
Take care, folks.
Thousand.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Isn't it great to be able to talk so directly and about topics which are in our heart, and we don't have to fear anything. We just can talk.
No, it's amazing. And I thank you, Heidi and Mark, also for making this possible. It's like I don't know how you do it, but I'm sure it's a lot of work, and it's you know, we shouldn't take it for granted. Like I wouldn't be able to do that.
You can help us. You can help us, Hans, to share our sessions and to share it and drive people to us, because we live, let's say, this inspiration lives by people coming. When we stay alone, you know, after a while we will give up. But when we have people like you, like Henrik and Margherita all the time, and Christina, who is in the audience too, then, you know, we can live up. And then when we have people like Christina, who is buying our replays, then we have even a sort of how do you say, a sort of return to the costs, because this is also costs we have.
Yes.
And we love to work for nothing, but if we have only costs, then at the end, how can we do that?
Yes.
What is that, Margherita? Let me see.
It was hard.
So this would be really great if you can share this. Christina has a big heart. She is so supporting me in the what she can. It's really, I'm so grateful. Margherita too, but talking about this, you know. Guilty. Who is guilty? About what? Pauli.
Pauli, guilty.
Hi, Pauli.
However,
we don't know what we are guilty for. I think that guilt should be erased from the entire brain. And it's like I had a client this morning, and she had some kind of things inside, and I said, let's clean that up and remove it. And then we did it, and then it's like, yeah, okay. It's like taking off an overcoat and then, okay, hand it over.
Yes, well, we can hold on to responsibility, but guilt, I don't see any point. But responsibility is something, you know, different.
But you know, when we talk in integral, guilt was important for the evolution.
To move from shame to guilt
was very important. I saw it here. Yeah, really. When you don't feel guilt, for instance, if I break something to you, you know, your dearest puppet or whatever, your dearest plate or something, and I don't feel guilt, I just say, when I feel a sort of guilt, I would say, oh, can I replace it? How can I do it? Without this guilt, I have had people here in my house who didn't have done the step towards guilt, towards the what we say blue or amber stage of development.
But they were ashamed because they
covered it up. Yeah, but they were ashamed. But they didn't do anything for repair it.
No.
And you know, so this stage jump, this is very important. And then afterwards, when we have sort of incorporated in a responsibility for what we do, that we can take over responsibility, then we have to loosen this grip of constant guilt, you know.
Yes.
That is at least my idea for that. And the higher we go, we grow, the less we need neither shame nor guilt anymore. We can liberate ourselves. But if you say to a person who is in the red stage of development, a warrior, you know, that they don't have to be ashamed of what they do, so they cut you the throat, and neither ashamed nor guilty, it's a good thing. We were there for thousands of years, and it was a horrible
But it's not over yet, Heidi. It's not over yet. There's lots of people who are doing it still today.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's clear, and that's why I say not to negate completely the guilt thing or the shame thing, but know that.
No, I think Dr. Keith Witt that we had on the course last week or the week before. I think he wrote an entire book on the evolutionary importance of shame. So you know. It all has its place, like on a developmental spectrum, and it all, you know, that has its purpose. So we just become more flexible and have more options. But I don't think that, and we have these layers inside. So I think, you know, guilt, shame, all this, we're still going to experience it, but we have more of an option how to deal with it. You know.
Yeah. And the thing is, only to whom we say these things, we must be aware. If you say it to the right person, that's okay. If you say it to the wrong person, they take it as a permission, total permission of being
take advantage of
it. Yeah, and this is a little bit for me missing in all these green teachings. You know, that they pretend that everybody is on the stage where we can. We can get rid of guilt and shame and these things. You know?
Yes.
Christina says, I care for what I have broken, but not feel shame or guilt. I mean, she says they're coming over that stage of guilt and shame and know what you have done, and then you don't do it again because you have already overcome it. Then that whole thing, because being shamed, it means that you are having a death warrant over you. If you have guilt, then it's like acid inside of you that tears you apart inside. So it's extremely valuable to actually work through those issues that did that. And then say, like Christina, I care for what I have broken, but I don't feel shame or guilt. That's very, very profound. Thank you for sharing that, Christina.
Yeah, this is a big difference. But you know what? I would say a different word. I wouldn't say overcome, but I would say integrated. So that it's not anymore on the surface, but it's you have learned out of it. So it's integrated and it's not in charge. Not in charge anymore.
Transformed it. You have transformed it.
I think we can also question sometimes the adequacy of our emotional reactions, because I think a lot of the times when we feel guilty or ashamed, we didn't do anything like, you know, that would like objectively ask for guilt or shame, but it has to do with whatever childhood experiences and unconscious patterns, and that, for example, showing our bodies to a lover, we feel shame, even though there is maybe no objective reason to feel shame. But if I'm a bit unaware and I really hurt somebody's feeling because I make a poisonous, vicious remark, and then I become aware of it and I feel this like flash of shame for what I've just done, I think there's something healthy about it, and recognizing it and then not beating myself up for it, but taking it as an invitation to say, wow, sorry, I just caught myself doing this. I'm seeing more clearly now and I want to apologize. So I think it can still have its healthy expression.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it is still necessary for when it is appropriate. But what we are talking about is the inappropriate.
Yes. And mostly it's like
expressions. We were so beautifully talking about the authenticity. You cannot be authentic when you are driven by shame on nobody should see me, or by guilt. Oh, I did it wrong.
Yes.
How can you be?
And maybe just to get also the arc back to actually the topic of our conversation, the same-sex relationships, which we have steered away from. There's so much shame like with this, and even I consider myself to be a pretty much grown up, emancipated person, but there's still, I catch myself in these moments and I feel this shame still for being gay. It's I lied to myself for a long time and said, oh, I'm so evolved and no problem. But for example, there's still one grandmother of mine who still doesn't know that I'm gay, and if she would ever ask me, I would be honest. I would say, yes, grandmother, I'm gay. But it really, like, just picturing myself to tell her, I can feel a physical shame in my body. It's still, there is some moments where I can feel it, that it's still there. And I mean, it has been around collectively for hundreds of years.
So, my goodness, see, I can feel it, Hans. I can feel it. I just like cringing. I'm not gay, but like,
yeah.
It's like this in the heart instead of.
Margherita, this is with other things we have, all these ideas about ourselves, how women have to be, for instance, Also, we know that we are not anymore, but I say it in myself too, that these old conditioning are still there. I have the choice to feel uncomfortable and not act on them.
Exactly.
Or to have the, or to act on them, or to buy into the feeling. This are the choices, but I have not the choice not to feel them, because they are still. We cannot just throw away thousands of years of conditioning in 30 years. This is. We have it in our genes when we can say it in this way, and it takes much longer than we really become free. We can become relatively free by what you are doing, what I am doing with the coachings, relatively free, but it's not. We don't get rid of it, at least not in this time of history.
Yeah.
Later, who knows? In 1,000 years, might be completely different, but not in the next 50 years. I'm quite sure.
We have every.
That's the thing. We cannot solve it all with a mind. I mean, opening up to integral understandings is all nice and pretty, but I don't know if it was Dr. Witt or somebody who said it also. The subconscious is still there, and our bodies are there, and so much of all things and experiences, it's like stored in the body, and it becomes reactivated in certain trigger moments. I have so often falsely believed myself to, beyond it all, and then in the right moment, reality was just, kicked me in the face, really.
Can I introduce some kind of idea here?
Yes, sure.
Because like same-sex relationships is one topic, right? But what we're talking about here is anyone who has an issue of the same emotional responses, really, maybe on different levels. And the topic is not the topic, but the topic is how do you actually remove that from yourself? This is from a healing point of view, that we have something that, like, for example, a gay person may have that as a topic for empower him or herself to move forward, to be a better person and have more consciousness and be of more service to humanity. So I think we chose, when we come in this life, the area of where we are going to do our work. And that's usually like, for example, abused women, the behavioral patterns from their partners. That can be a very, very shameful and guilty, and you think you're not worth anything because you have such a low self-esteem, and then the other person, they go on and on and on and on and abuse you. It's the similar thing, it's just a different topic. But the main thing in life is really to overcome, transform, and integrate what we have learned. And it doesn't matter whether it's same sex, or if it's an abusive situation, or if I'm listening to rock music, or if if I'm a different from a different country, or I'm a woman, or I'm a man, or I'm from the moon. Like don't you see, that's like the topics really doesn't matter.
You mean our responses?
The responses, yeah, and to heal the responses to it, right? So one can heal every single issue. I think some takes longer than others, and some, like the gay movement, you have to communicate with other people. You have to communicate really, really a lot in order to, come together and make a commitment or having.
No, I do resonate with that. I think we all have our individual stories and packages of what we are ashamed about, depending on what time we happen to be born in, what gender, what sexuality, what. I think the pattern itself, how to deal with that and how to overcome it and to transform it into something bigger, is very similar, on all these on all these topics. And I mean, speaking in integral terminology, these things that you talked about, that we can look inside and work on that. This would be like the upper left quadrant, and talking about it and being culturally active is like the lower left quadrant, and fighting for different laws and all that is maybe the lower right quadrant, etc. So there's many areas where we can experiment and play and grow and keep pushing ball forward. It's just to me, actually, I think when you do this work on yourself and dig into your own shadows and all that, I think you can come to a point where you create extra pressure on yourself by expecting that you have to become so clean and pure and not feel anymore all of these same feels, and you're so beyond it, and that creates extra pressure and it becomes its own little illusion.
And it's not authentic.
Exactly.
You are not authentic when you try to push it away.
Really, and recently more and more, I'm just, have to laugh often when I catch myself with all these old stories, and they're all still there. And sometimes they come out, and I just allow them. It's fine. I don't. I try to notice. I try to be gentle about it. I try to do it better next time, or catch myself earlier. But it's just, I look at it in a playful, humble, optimistic way.
Yeah. In the modality I have learned, we would call these the younger selves we have in us, and we would be the good parent to the younger selves, not the bad parent who's
exactly. Exactly.
Did you hit him? Heidi, did you hit Mark? Oh my goodness.
and I acted as yes. I'm reminded of a song popular a few years ago. I don't know exactly how many, but the tagline was, "Whoops, I did it again."
Yeah, that was Britney Spears, I think. Yeah.
I think it was, yeah.
Okay, guys, and I'm glad that you were here again and not let us alone. We blab all the day, together. And it is always a great talk. And I hope we can transport a little bit this culture of not talking too much, you know, like a book, but come into conversation and bring people into the conversation, and also people who have not so much, you know, studied these things, but just by listening to us, slowly get a broader worldview. This would be my idea to do this, and thankfully you are helping us, and really great. Thank you. And we see next week.